Zumi, we heard a lot about MJ's new swing mechanics. What were those conversations like with him over the off season, and what have been how has it translated so far into spring?
Well, a lot of conversation in season, off season. I think the biggest thing that we wanted to do was come alongside MJ and help him find a more simple approach with his swing. I think Keone summed it up best with you. He's a hypermobile mover, and there's times where he can't get that slack out of his swing. And for him to shorten some things up, timing was a big conversation that we had. Being able to have the adjustability we know that he has in that swing, and we just had to bring it out. And he worked his tail off all off season. I think he only took maybe 10 days off and went right into it. So, what we're going to continue to stay on, just had a conversation with him on this morning, is we got to find ways to continue to challenge his rhythm and timing, and then obviously the pitch decisions that he swings at.
Staying convicted in that process, is that one of the biggest messages?
That's paramount.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's hitters in this game that will tinker every single day to try to find something. We don't want that. We want conviction in their moves, conviction in their prep work, and then when you go out to the game, you got to just trust that work's going to translate. It's easier said than done, and that's why there's it's part of the reason why there's probably only been there's been less than 20,000 major league hitters in the history of the game. So I think that him finding what works can't be built on I hit that ball out or whatever. It's like sometimes the best results you can get is I was able to stop my swing when I realized that it wasn't a good pitch.
And in the same lines, Makiel Garcia, what have you seen out of him and some of his changes at the plate?
Makiel and I talked going into the off season, and we talked here in Arizona when he was doing his rehab, and the biggest thing was we just got to get back to what he did best as he was coming up. So he brought back the toe tap a little bit. I think yesterday was a really good example of the adjustability he has in his swing. He's just getting back to being in a more controlled position, and again, it's one of these things ebb and flow. Hitters make adjustments along the way, and I think that Makiel's done a great job to be in the strong position that he's in right now.
JJ says it all the time. It takes young hitters time to mature, but for Makiel and MJ to be receptive to these changes and work on them, what does it say about just not only their character but their willingness to be great?
Well, I think when we set out to try to build these hitters years ago, the biggest point we were building around was we wanted resilient warriors. We wanted guys that were going to continue to fight, and they're not just going to punt. They were going to continue to find ways, but they have to be honest with themselves too. What am I doing well? What am I not doing well? And you got to make those adjustments, and it's an everyday grind. That's again what's so hard. And I think Makiel and MJ both. We've seen what they're capable, both of them, what they're capable of doing. And so, I still think there's a lot of ceiling left in both of them at the major league level.
Have you seen any maturation from Makiel as far as giving himself some grace when those hard line drives find a glove?
He, again, a lot of self-reflecting on that one. He did a lot of hard work off the field, if you will, on knowing that he's got to give himself a little bit more grace. No one's harder on themselves than he is. And, I think it's been addressed, and he knows that. But that's the reality. He is just very hard on himself, but that's a good thing. He has high expectations for himself and high standards, and that's a resilient warrior mindset that we want to have.
It's only been a week or so up close, but what's impressed you about Jonathan India's approach?
I went down and saw India in Florida, and right away, this is a guy. I liked his bat in college. He's very loose, easygoing. He knows what he needs to do. The first conversation we had surrounded Kauffman Stadium and the difference of hitting in Cincinnati versus Kauffman. But he's all in. He knows there's a lot of doubles on that field, and his biggest goal, he said, is I want to win, and he wants to be a part of this. So I think that's been that in itself right there. Bringing that little extra ingredient for us is going to be really powerful.
How does his on-base ability kind of change the dynamic of this line?
Obviously he knows the strike zone really well. Getting to be around him these last couple of weeks and seeing how he works, he knows his swing really well. So you put those two ingredients together, it's going to be, it should be a good, obviously a leadoff guy that we need for this lineup. It'd be nothing better to look back at the highlights at the end of the year and we see, if it's Bobby, Sal, and Vinny, and we see India running those bases, we know we were doing things right. So, I think he does. He brings a little edge that's different. But he's been great to work with.
How was his team able to be so good last year? With, I think it was the lowest on-base percentage from the leadoff spot in baseball. It's usually it's the place you want to get on.
I feel like we had guys every night. It was somebody else doing something different, whether it was the leadoff hitter or the number 9 hitter. I think obviously with Bobby and Vinny being in the top 10 with runners in scoring position in baseball, that helps too. And obviously there was a stretch there where we weren't firing on all cylinders there. I feel like in late August we had some pressing that was happening there, but no, I think that's again resilient hitters. Can't just rely and hang our hat on one person to do all the damage. So we just got to get on base and put pressure on the opposing teams. That's how it works.
And what Jonathan does in that regard, like that discipline of the plate and everything, do you think that could translate to the rest of the group?
100%. When we can put someone on base like that consistently, you can see the sense in the dugout change. From that standpoint, and the way Damon Hollins coaches our base runners, we're going to run with our hair on fire. So those first to third, second to homes, we're going to always looking to take that extra 90. He has that in his DNA already. So just having that and another presence like that is going to change us for good.
JJ talked pretty openly this offseason about wanting to find a middle of the order bat, and then obviously wasn't able to bring someone that he was kind of looking for in, and he's been open about that. How much confidence do you have in your hitters now that you have currently to kind of fill that role, which clearly was a need based on what the offseason targets were?
Yeah, I'm going to focus on what I'm in charge of and what I have on my plate, and for us, it's getting Renfroe back to what Renfroe does best, drive the baseball. Again, we saw it in little glimpses last year, and it's just we can get the stretch to be bigger. He's a game changer for us. He is that middle of the order bat. Obviously getting MJ back, getting little ones too. Though for me is like Isbell. We can just get Isbell. There's still way more ceiling in his abilities too. So, and he's done a lot of work this offseason as well to try to be more prepared and as far as his swing, just simplifying little moves, same thing. These guys are always getting better. So I feel like we've got our core. I believe in our guys. That's how I was raised in this game. I believe in our guys, and I love our players, and what we've got, we believe in. So,
with Izzy, you talk about not being like the middle of the order bat, but more of a number 9, kind of that turning over the lineup on base ability with him.
Yeah, he's a table setter. He's a table setter, and he's going to go play Gold Glove defense for us in center field, and he's a big part of this. He's been a big part of this for the last several years. So again, it's just we can get past this hump. He's still a young, in my opinion, he's still a young hitter that's still figuring some things out at the major league level.
What do you say for someone like Hunter Renfroe? You mentioned he wants to get back to where he was in his career. As a veteran, what are those conversations like to help him kind of turn things around?
Well, I think there's always with a new player, you got to get to know him, and the reality that I've learned in this game is nothing works without trust. So coming into a new organization, it takes a while to get that trust. Obviously, it's different for players. They come alongside. They're all trying to win the game, but from a coaching standpoint, it's different. And it's different. And Hunter's been to a couple different places the last couple of years, so I think he feels more comfortable now. He understands how Keone, myself, and Joe are coming alongside him to try to help him. And again, what worked 5 years ago, we got to focus on what we need to do today and what we need to make work right now. And all the experience that he brings to that is it's so helpful for us to then put the pieces together and get him where he needs to be. And he came in camp, he's in great shape. I think his live BPs, he's feeling some things that maybe this time last year he wasn't feeling. So I'm very hopeful that we're going to get a big piece right here with Hunter.
And looking at some of the bench options that could be available, you have Nelson Velasquez, Nick Prado, those guys. How important is it to kind of keep their confidence up, knowing that they could be a big part of this team?
Well, I think that's kind of somewhat the DNA of our hitters is that they want to be a part of this, and it's not understanding how Q uses our lineup. Just because you're not starting tonight does not mean anything, because you're going to come into that game. If the matchup works, and all of our guys, I feel like, did a great job last year to being ready, and I think obviously that's that takes time. That's a hard thing to learn, but it's part of this thing. If we're going to win, we got to win with all 13 of our hitters. We're not just going to win, like I said, we can't just put all of our hats on one horse.
What is the key for Hunter to be consistent?
What was that?
What is the key for Renfroe to be consistent?
He just needs to control his energy more than anything else with his swing. He's so strong. So just keeping himself in control. I think he kind of got, at times he was trying to get the ball a little deeper and then he'd overcorrect and try to get the ball too far out front. And so him finding that happy zone, because he can hit the ball anywhere in the ballpark. So, but I'm like I said, I think I like where he's at right now, and I think it's just us finding that consistent group.
Saw you working with Salvi a little bit on the swing yesterday. I know all spring, but watched some of the drills yesterday. What are you working on with him, and does it surprise you at all that he wants to get better?
He's the hardest worker I've ever been around in my life, and again, good conversations that we had going into the season. I went and saw him in Florida. I thought he looked really good for where he was. He knows himself really well. He knows what he needs to do for his body. But yeah, I mean, that in itself, that's Salvi at his best right there. Hey, I want to hit on the field. I want to do some of this. He has a reason why. We identified something, and we were able to get some really, really good work out of it. And again, 14 years in the big leagues isn't just because of talent. It's because of the grit that he's got in his heart, and nobody wants to win out here more than he does. I still say that he wants it more than Bobby. Bobby can say it whatever he wants, but when Sal says it, it's got a little different carry in his voice. So, but yeah, I mean, that's why he is who he is.
No details on
Nope.
what? Okay.
Nope. Did you see where the balls were going?
Yeah.
That's all the details you need to know.
Is it common for hitting coaches during the offseason to travel around and visit guys where they are?
This was Q's idea this offseason. I think it was great, because we are so relational with our guys. In the past, when some of these guys weren't making as much money, they'd come see me in Kansas City. But this offseason, and we all got out. It wasn't just me. I mean, Hoover got out, Q got out, JJ went out. But I think it's a great idea. It's tough leaving your family right before you're going to leave your family, but they know why we're doing it. It's for the right reasons, and it's not to come check on them to make sure they're doing it. It's just to show them that look, we care. We care to see you before we get to spring training. So, but that was a great idea.
With Bobby, we all know what he did last season. Now it's about being more consistent and replicating that. How do you help him in that development?
I think with Bobby, what's so elite about Bobby is that he's not even thinking about that anymore. He's thinking he's all what he's got to take care of today. He's not even thinking about what he did last year. And truthfully, I haven't heard one person talk like that at all. It's been great. It's really a different focus. You heard me say that last spring training was a different focus. Right now, I'm seeing again a lot of guys that have really taken strides forward from that standpoint. And again, Bobby knows what he's able to do and capable to do, so now it's just a matter of us putting in the work every single day and go do his thing.
Really impressions of Caglione, and what does that look like?
Poor kid doesn't know how to take my sense of humor yet. He doesn't know if I'm going to yell at him or if I'm going to praise him, but that's a gifted human. That is a very large human. But I think from day one he got in, him and I worked together, and kind of more than anything else, just trying to come alongside him and go, hey man, there's gonna be a lot of crazy stuff happen. Go with the flow right now. Enjoy this, have fun, but keep your ears open. And he's been great from that standpoint. So, it's different.
Can you compare it to what he does in BP or anything?
And I hate comparisons. I hate
ask
comparisons. No, he's Cags. I mean, that's the best way I can put it. So I had full warning. Jensen had kind of given me and Jensen are always together in the offseason, but Carter had given me really good insight to Cags. So, and he didn't give that same insight to Cags about me. So that's why I've been messing with him. So, but no, it's loud. It's definitely hit some balls. I think on this video the other day that were completely over the street. You don't see that very often. So, but I think the biggest thing that I see with him is that he is so strong, so quick, and it's just now if we can tame it a little bit. He doesn't have to do more. Is my point.
containment as in the strike zone or
More,
his stuff?
I think it's just it's just effort.
Okay.
I think it's just his effort. He is so gifted and strong that it's, if he can take what Bob has learned about just, I don't have to go 110% because if my 80%, or it's probably going to feel like 10% to him, then the ball's going to go. So, and I think in that you also then start shrinking the strike zone, the chase will go down, the swing and miss will go down because we're not just missing balls because of effort. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'd rather have precision than high effort swing.
Yeah.
But,
When you have an athlete like Joey Wiemer, how do you work with him trying to get him to kind of put it all together?
Another one. Now, he did come to KC. That was really cool. I think the first thing that we talked about early on was what happened to him last year and then his previous experiences. And I said, what do you want to do? And the first thing he kind of brought to my attention was he's been told a lot of things that he didn't agree with. And so that's really hard for a hitter to try to do some things. I said, well, here are my principles I've got for you from watching your swing. Seen him obviously the last few years from a distance, but I mean, you're talking about an incredible athlete. And in the similar vein as Cag, it's like his less is going to feel like to him really, really less, but it's actually going to be better. And what he owns about, and what I love about him so far, is that he owns that he does things differently. Again, I'm not going to label a guy like that, but you just don't see guys swing like that very often. But I mean, again, there's some tools in there.
He talked about how that works for him, like the unorthodox swing. So as a hitting coach, you want to simplify it, inherently.
Right.
You look at that swing and you're like, that's insane. But it works for him.
Right.
How do you balance that?
I mean, that's again why this is so hard. You can't just cookie cut hitting mechanics. There's certain things that all the good ones do, right? But there's also, I've said this before, but if someone would have told Hunter Pence to change and do something that looked better, that would be pretty bad advice in my opinion. I think you take what they do well and you build around that. And that's where for Joey, I think that was our initial conversation. So just try more than anything else, I wanted to start with his feet. If he can stay in his feet, a lot of things will fix themselves. I think the way he took some pitches yesterday, he sees the strike zone really, really well. So again, there's some things in there that I can't quantify with the unorthodox mechanics, whatever. But there's ingredients there that say he should have better performance.
Not like that's insane, but just like that you look at it and you're like, that's not traditional at all. So.
No, and it's a great story now too because he was Greinke's strikeout. I don't know if
yeah.
you guys remember that.
Yeah.
And Massey threw the ball in the stands. We still remind him of that every day.
Nice.
So
You mentioned having two assistants, and we all know what Keone does, but Joe Dillon, his second year with the team, how is that kind of involved, and how is he kind of ingratiating himself with the roster? I
mean, I think what's great is that we all bring different skill sets to the table, and at the end of the day, we all sit down and we can talk things out, and our verbiage may not be exactly alike, but we are aligned, all the way through, and how we see the hitters, and Joe's done this a lot longer than I have, as far as being a coach, but Joe's been a really good bridge, especially with some of the veteran players. So, I think I think we've got a really good team. I believe in our team. I don't know how this was ever a one-man job. I will never understand how we did it 20 years ago, but because it's a nonstop process.
Has that been the trend now, having two assistants with a hitting coach, or?
I think there's more teams that have two than don't. I don't know. I don't see all. I don't look at rosters a lot, coaching staffs, but I do know that there's. I mean, it's a. And Makiel Garcia. I mean, I can't leave him out. Like, Miggy helps us too. I mean, Miggy does everything. He's our Swiss Army knife. But again, you got two cages. You got people you want to sit down and show something video, whether it's information we got from R&D. There's always something going on. So it's not a dull moment. I guess the only time I'm not doing anything is when we do defense because they don't want me to get hurt. That's what they said. They don't want me to run because they don't want me to get hurt.
Or talking to us.